Hello, family. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Momo Love Presents Many Voices of the Community. It's where we chat with various members of the community, friends, and family, checking in because coronavirus is still real, okay? This is an extension of my radio talk show, Community Voices, which airs every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Ablazing Radio. You can listen live by downloading the free Ablazing Radio Live app or listening on the web. So, this is just something that I started because I feel like we talk around coronavirus and the numbers, and we're yelling at Twitter and at the TV and the national dumpster. That's what I call your president. But just a way that we can reach out to each other and keep the connections going and make sure everybody is sane in their mind. May was Mental Health Awareness Month, and I really wanted to delve into our psyche, what's going on. I am not a mental health care professional. I am just someone who believes that talking out and through your problems can definitely help and aid in what you're getting through. And so, with all of the imagery of the murder of George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, just everything that's been going on, I wanted to find out what my brothers are thinking, what they're going through and how they're holding on. So I have some other IG Live TV interviews, mini talks. I call them coping with coronavirus, quarantine talks, whatever hashtag you want to put for us to get through it, right? But as we wait for our guest tonight, I had some dope conversations with Brother Joe Jack, Mayor of the Green Line from D.C. I've spoken with a young brother, 18 years old, by the name of Malachi Ledbetter. And, sometimes we think that Generation Z does not have anything to talk about or have any thoughts on the situation, and he broke it right on down. So I'm going to tonight talk to, he's a former football player. Um, is a former coach, or he may still coach. We're going to get into that. He is a reggae artist, and he has a band called Adwela and the Uprising. Please welcome Adwela Dawes. How are you, sir?
What's going on? Bless, bless, bless. Long time, sister. How you feeling?
I'm wonderful. As I was letting everybody know the reason for this, and you're driving, please be safe.
Well,
Um,
listening. The phone is anyway.
Okay. So we were talking about why I started this, after all of the imagery of George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, coronavirus. We had so many plans for 2020. We had this 2020 vision. We was going to be clear and have all this clarity. Next step, achieving our goals. And then all of this stuff happened, including lynchings. I hope he can still hear me. Can you hear me? So okay. So I just wanted to lay my eyes on you, Adwella, and ask how you're doing.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, one second. I miss phone business. My bad. All right, try it now. Can you hear
I
me
can
now?
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
What's going on my phone? All right, try again one more time.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. I got you.
So, okay, real quick again, I just wanted to lay my eyes on you and ask you how you're doing with all of this going on.
Um, really and truly, I've been quiet, and I've been I want to say validated to a certain point. Um, I'm still very much unnerved by the things that are going on. But I'm not going to say happy, but I'm relieved a bit. That people are starting to understand the things that I've been on the forefront trying to speak about for the past years and years, as long as I can remember. I don't know. I've got, like I said, I've got some mixed feelings and mixed emotions about these whole happenings because I don't know if it will be genuine 3 weeks from now when the trend starts to subside a bit. You see where I'm going with this? I think I hope I hope that it's not it's something that is genuine and something that is not just trendy and something we can hang our head on and really get some traction from and go forward. A part of me for a little bit was actually I don't know, jaded a bit because I felt like I was like, you know what? All this time I've been on the front line, all this time I've been trying to convey these things to people, and then it's like it takes somebody to lose their life for them to take another person to lose their life. Um, for it to be something to that's as serious as it is now. So for me, like I said, I'm still hurt by all this, honestly, and it's something ongoing. Obviously, we're black, so all of us who are feeling these things. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional about this stuff, man.
Yeah,
It's
because
something
it
that
because it is, and I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes little boys are taught not to cry, stuff your emotions, don't talk about it, keep your thoughts to yourself. And of course, I'm a black woman, and I have some of the same similarities that you have walking around here. If I raise my voice or speak my mind, I'm a bitter black woman, and even in relationships. But I don't know what it's like to walk around as a black man.
well,
Talk
that's
to
the
us
other point
about
I
that,
want.
because right now, with everything being so heightened.
That's the other point I wanted to kind of touch on. And you hit it right on the head. Not only not showing your emotion as far as sadness or anything like that, anger. Um, Anger is something that we've been taught from a youth to not convey and have any kind of rage or have any kind of impulsiveness with our emotional response to things, because that could be costly as well. It could cost you your freedom, and as we can see, it could cost you your life. You could not be doing anything and it costs you your life. It's just us and me as well. That's okay. I'm a former athlete, former professional athlete. So like, okay, we're looking we're larger than life per se in reality, because most of us are larger than average humans. But to be a black man on top of that and be um a Rasta man at that, um that's kind of hard, and it can be hard, and it can be something that can affect us um negatively, if you will.
And with you
I,
being a former football player, especially back in the day when Kaepernick kneeled and he was letting us know, the same way you have been for years, that we need equality, we need justice. All we're doing is fighting for our right, our piece of the pie. Um, the NFL has Roger Goodell has finally said we should have
Oasis
listened to
man.
those. As a former athlete, as a former professional athlete, as a lover of football, do you feel like that's a slap in the face, along with all of these other I'm sorry's and here's a little bit of money?
But before I go on, this is not rehearsed, but you're asking you're three in a row, the same three things at the forefront in the order of which I'm like concerned about right now. See, right, as an athlete, I personally think Roger Goodell is a waste man. I personally think that this is a monetary ploy, a political correctness thing that they're doing to save face, because now it's becoming trendy and now they're understanding. Honestly, the same way when Cap first kneeled, the reason that they blackballed the man, he didn't do anything legally wrong. There was nothing wrong with his character, nothing wrong with his work ethic. This guy's been in the Super Bowl before. This is a Super Bowl starting quarterback, and let's go back to watching the game. Honestly, without the power going off in one drive, he would have won the Super Bowl. This would have been a Super Bowl winning quarterback and starting quarterback in the NFL being blackballed and blacklisted because of his personal beliefs and peaceful legal protests. But because he used his platform in order to bring things to the forefront, they took it, they misconstrued it, they made it about something that it wasn't even about. They somehow made it about the military. And the NFL, that's the biggest. The NFL has Cancer Month and they have Military Month in November. They did that on. I feel like that's something to do on purpose, and they saw the revenue that could be lost by supporting this stance, and they blackballed that man. He lost 4 years of his career. It's just like Muhammad Ali, same way, on his draft stance and everything else like that. Everyone who stood up for social justice that's been black and had a platform in this country has either been killed, blackballed, economically castrated, one of those three, and it's ridiculous. And for them to come around, like I said, now and say, oh, by the way, we were right. Why did it take you 4 years of the same thing happening? And not taking nothing away from Mr. George Floyd, rest in peace, and condolences to him and his family and this and that. Well, how is he any better or more prestigious than anyone else the police have killed
That's right.
over the past 50, 60, 100 years even, to make this all of a sudden a thing? I was like, okay, then this is ridiculous. This is the magic man that had to die, the magic martyr, if you will, for people to be, um, it just,
Aware, yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did your
I
parents
don't
ever
believe
have to
in.
talk with you about what to do when the police came up on you, or anybody for that matter?
I came from a small town, and I also had law enforcement in my family. My uncle's a retired deputy as well, but black man. But he's had to talk with me, and it talks a lot more real coming from someone who wears the badge.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been torn so much because okay, this is one of the biggest influential father figures and male influences in my life.
Wow.
However, he is a police officer, but when you sit there and talk to him, and I know this man, I've known him my entire life, and he's had influences on me. This and that. There are a lot of people who just really go try to make a good, honest living with some benefits and go home to their families at night. And there are some people who really do the noble cause and decide we're going to try to make a difference and serve our communities and protection and blah blah blah. He's had instances where he's been almost blacklisted or ousted or put on the unpopular side of things for holding other peers and his colleagues accountable
Mm,
for their behavior. But he had been tenured, he had a little rank, so he could do that.
okay.
Um, I just really think now the stereotypes on the other foot, so now people are uncomfortable, and I'm like, how dare you be uncomfortable? But I understand completely what you're saying. But it's like, oh, I feel like this. Oh, let me guess, you feel like this when you feel like this. And oh, really? Well, welcome. This is how it feels to be in this black skin for 36 years. You can take that uniform off. You can take that badge off. I'm stuck in this skin.
Yeah.
We take it farther. I'm not trying to go against the homosexual community. This and that. Well, but there are allies in this thing. But Black Lives Matter has diluted the whole entire purpose and power of this thing by making it a joint thing. It's two different struggles. Not taking anything away from anyone else whatsoever, but we're fighting for equal rights and civil rights. They're fighting for things that, and honestly, they shouldn't have to. And that's, like I said, this means no judgment whatsoever in this time. And Caribbean people from earlier days, there was different opinions and different things about that community. Things have forwarded a bit. And as human beings, I give everyone, before I go any further, I just didn't want to cause any controversy. I give all human beings the basic respect of human beings as I go forward. However, it is nowhere close to the same struggle. If I was a homosexual, I could hide that when I walked out my house. I'm stuck in this black skin. Period. It's not the same thing.
We talk about white supremacy all the time, but I have been kind of reclassifying it myself and calling it white rage. And I don't think that white people understand, because they do have it so easy. They don't understand how people just automatically label you. And we all have biases, right? We all have implicit biases for one thing or another. But when you're talking about a systemic bias that's taught from generation to generation, the same way our generation is taught almost to fear, almost to kowtow, almost to know our place. And sometimes we do it and we don't even realize it.
There's so many facets to this, and you're right. As we say the word, I think that people don't. It's a trendy word to say systematic racism or systemic racism. People don't understand the power of that word systemic. That means this thing has been cultivated and almost in an academic state standardized. The Lynch papers itself, people don't understand, there was a written, and you can look it up today online or even buy the book itself, there was a written chapter with an appendix and preface manual to slavery and how to take our minds and keep our bodies strong with the males and demasculate them, but negotiate with the females to make them feel independent as they don't need us. But then it evolved. Oh, racism doesn't exist. Racism and slavery does not exist in the way that you see it in history books in that Cliff Notes version that you were given. It has evolved now from there to black codes in the Reconstruction days, to sharecropping, to Jim Crow, to the epidemic, to the crack epidemic, and this and that, where they're moving our fathers out of the inner cities and homes and this and that. Section 8 itself is the biggest scourge in the black community, because now it makes a woman can have affordable housing at the expense of not having a man in the house, and it takes the codependency away. And now you don't need them, this and that, and the man is trying to do his best, and he's made one mistake in his life. You've taken away, economically castrated him, so he can't do anything but ridiculously hard labor, which is like slave labor. Not taking away nothing from the trades. There are bright minds who are cut off from opportunities that could be afforded to them had they gone another route. But one mistake has cost them basically their entire livelihood, and they're stuck to where their economic development has a ceiling to it. And it's just so much things that is evolved to where men can't do certain things and taking out the house. And it's gone so far to where, okay, you see what the trends and how young people are acting today. It is a direct result of not having positive, consistent male influences in our youth lives.
And speaking about that, it's part of the trauma. It's part of the PTSD. It's part of the everyday living that the Black man has been truly removed from the family. I mean, it has gone back since slavery. It was strengthened during this welfare time. Just as you spoke about, if a woman needed any assistance from the government, she was told that she could not have the father
Could
of
not
her
have nobody
children or
else.
any
Yeah,
man in her home, or it would be taken away. Claudine,
correct.
the movie, laid that out plain and clear. When we talk about breaking down this systemic racism, when we talk about changing things, when we talk about defunding the police, what does that look like to you? Is it possible, if you had a chance to bring your documentation and say, this is one of the things or two of the things that I think that we need to do right now, what would it be?
Um, as far as defunding the police,
Yes.
really there needs to be, I think, an outside entity that holds them accountable when the time comes for investigation and things like that. Think about this: if the police are the people who are the enforcers of the law, who is going to police the police? No one polices the police, and that's why it's basically a good old boy system, especially in smaller. Inner cities is a problem, but even with me in the suburban areas and the country places, it's even worse because it's so smaller. They're like small militias. These small sheriff's departments, small town police, they're small militias who basically enforce what's a measure of martial law on these small towns and places. So there's nobody to really check these people when they're out of line. And there are certain practices that are almost like pre-civil rights era that are still going on.
Yeah.
But
And
there's no, the first thing, like I said, outside entity to police these people and conduct these investigations that are normally internal investigations, which is why people walk when they do these heinous crimes, things that are pretty open and shut. When
yeah,
it's a person of color without a badge does this thing, they're instantly charged with murder if they're lucky, if they're not shot on premises by the police and they're taken in and thrown to jail, and you don't hear from them anymore.
that's right.
These people are committing murder and getting off. I think the second thing is, you're right. Defunding is well, you know what? I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna use a communist just to piss people off. I'm gonna use a communist premise here, and not going to say defund. I'm going to say redistribution of wealth by the government. Let's take this away from the military and the government. I mean, and the police officers. Let's put it back into our inner cities and our school systems. Because they're talking about defunding the police. The inner city school systems have been defunded from the beginning of time. You talk about any kind of when they redo the fiscal budget, any kind of cut that needs to make, it's always after school programs, education, this and that. And you have subpar teachers, you have subpar facilities, you have no arts anything with the arts. You have no
And
sports. You
music.
don't have and music. That's what I'm saying. So that now what are we doing? We're doing these things haphazardly and on our own. Now our music comes out as pollution. We don't play instruments anymore. These people don't play sports, and there's no one at home because they're either out working two jobs to keep a roof over their head, or there's no father. You're letting a whole generation of youth into the streets to police themselves from 2:30 in the afternoon until whenever. And you wonder why there's such the rates in these things are spiking. We are defunded in those. Redistribute the wealth into that. We don't need armored vehicles. We don't need Kevlar vests. We don't need state-of-the-art rifles to shoot people in the streets and this and that. Well, put this money into education and educate these children and the youth, and they'll become our leaders. And now the crime rate will go down. Just like it's a simple premise. You can't say it doesn't work. That's why the suburbs and urban areas are two different things. Why are these things not happening in suburban areas like they are in cities?
Because there are working class,
Working
tax-paying
class.
citizens in the small towns, in the urban areas, and they pay their taxes the same exact way. However, they are tagged the most, they are policed the most, they are profiled the most. They have to go to court the most, and then they say those people over there, they need help. They need to just pull themselves out by the bootstraps. Well, you're purposefully creating havoc on our lives.
Right, of course. It's like I said, that's just a systematic thing as well. And I'm like, okay, if you look at the reality of this, not like I said, I have a history background. I've taught this and that. So that's when I try to make it like a small, like a layman's term, simpler explanation of things. If you are a farmer, you have 4 million chickens on your farm, and someone said one day, hey, it's illegal to have chickens. You need to let all those go. If you let all those chickens out into the world, the hazard of that, just the waste hazard of that, is going to be detrimental to the communities around who obviously don't have the means to take care of those things. So what do you have to do? You have to contain them. Same way they did with human shadow. They freed 4 million Africans who don't know how to read, don't know how to write, don't know how to do anything in society but work for people, and they're skilled tradesmen, skilled musicians, and everything else. Well, but where do you put them when they're on their own?
Yeah.
Sharecropping, which is the same thing as slavery. I'm not gonna say it isn't.
Correct.
Or they migrate to northern cities and they can't go in these nice white neighborhoods in these white cities that already have the society set up. They have to concentrate them in areas, and that's why in the southern cities there's white and black sided towns, in northern cities there's projects.
You know, you talk about being a historian, you talk about just learning a lot of history. Many of us have daddy issues, right? He was not there, or he was there. He may
Included.
not have given us a lot of guidance. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and a lot of times we attribute mental health awareness to women. However, walking around your 36 years of Black skin and having to deal with racism, covert, overt, implicit biases, talk to me about the difference in manhood and masculinity, and when you realized you were a man.
Um, I realized I had to be a man at a very young age when I witnessed some things in the streets with my father, and when he left my life, and I'm looking at the family, and I'm okay. It's very simple. No one had to put me in this place. I'm the only male around. So that was the first thing that made me say I had to mature real quick. And your paternal instincts as a man, as a provider, as a protector, are naturally going to come in, and most people step to the forefront and do something about that.
Mm-hmm.
However, over the years, you see many men that have been broken by the system and broken by what's going on, and they feel like they can't win, and they blame these men for giving up or trying another route, or it's going to condition you. And when you feel like you're not needed, you're not wanted, you're not respected, what do you expect a man to do? Same thing we do in society. When we're not wanted, we're not respected, we go elsewhere. And if it's the same thing at home, it's a double-edged sword, and a man's fighting a two-front war. I was lucky enough to be smart enough to understand the generation gap. My grandfather raised me, and like I said, my older uncle and my grandfather raised me. I did not have my actual paternal father, my biological father around.
Okay.
I know him. We have a relationship, but he didn't contribute much. You know what I'm saying, to who I am as a man. I understood the generation gap, but the old school upbringings and the lessons and the foundation that I've been given, I cannot replace for the life of me, and that's helped me in today's age. However, there's been a way as far as a man deals with certain things. The old school man was taught not to show any emotion. The man is supposed to be the rock, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But who does he turn to when so that made it a thing. And then when I started working in the mental health field, I'm seeing so many young Black kids who have emotional issues because they're not taught how to deal with them, and then the parents who have not been taught how to parent because they weren't parented. They're reacting in emotional ways. They're not feeding their children emotionally and spiritually, and they're lashing out inappropriately. And it's such rage we have that's justified as Africans all over the diaspora. But we need to learn how to appropriately deal with that, channel that into something positive to get us out of our situation, because no one's going to save us.
How do we do it? Do you believe in going to psychiatrists, or you believe in herbal healing, natural healing, praying to God?
I believe honestly, whatever works for you. I've worked in the mental health field, so I have my qualms about that as well, because like I said, there's some form of corruption in every field that deals with human services in America. That's a bigger problem, and I don't have the answer, because it's too big of a problem for me.
Yeah.
I sit and think about this all the time. I don't think there's a foolproof singular answer for this. I think there needs to be some waves and things that need to be done in a collective effort. But whatever needs to be done needs to be collective, because this problem is bigger than any one person.
Maybe some of that money can go to mental health awareness.
Right. But I feel like the Black community, for all these problems that we're talking about, things that we need to deal with, the first thing is we need singular leadership in the Black community,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have one right now. That's for obvious reasons as well. Anyone else set to the forefront who's been worth anything, they've shot in the head. So literally.
But do we need singular leadership? I mean, we have so many great leaders, so many great pockets of people who can lead different people.
I think there does need to be a hierarchy of sorts, not like a dictator or a king or this and that. But you look at any organization, look at any company.
Yeah.
There's a defined hierarchy.
Yeah.
There's a chain of command. The army, any kind of organized. When you're moving people, when you're moving movements and exodus of sorts, any kind of group or large movement, there needs to be some kind of order to it, and with that, there needs to be a hierarchy and a chain of command. There's no other way to do that.
Yeah.
So while we should delegate the correct way, I believe there needs to be a delegation. But obviously, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton is not the answer.
No.
And they silence Minister Farrakhan. He doesn't have long. He's about 90 years old.
A well purpose.
In their time.
They set a blueprint. and now it's time for the next generation to do what they need to do.
Well, we're passing the torch the wrong way as well, and I don't want to get into religion because I don't want to badmine anybody's belief. The black church has a lot to do with this as far as the miseducation, with the indoctrination of what they believe in, first off, and secondly, the elders and the grown people in the church have held on to office and responsibility entirely too much, which is why there's a gap, and that's why the youth leadership is lacking the way it should be. There's no organization that they've not passed the torch effectively to hold on to things entirely too long.
But can we be honest? It's only really been 50 plus years since our civil rights have been, documented legislation wise. Before that, we still had that slave mentality. I mean, even though it's been 400 years, like you spoke about the lynch letters, it was made to go on and on and on and
Of
on.
course. And this is not me chastising anyone, and I will come across sometimes as me. I'm not talking down anyone or trying
No,
to
we're
belittle
talking.
anyone. But this is a sensitive subject, and there's no other way to tell someone this but to tell it with inconvenient truth and say it with impunity and just speak very plainly and concisely and say, look, this is wrong and it needs to change if we want to do better. And collectively, we have to accept what's going on, accept how we're going to fix it, and accept the leadership and accept the order and organization of this. As Rasti here, Haile Selassie, one of the biggest tenets of Rastafari and that His Majesty taught to us was organization and centralization and self-reliance. Those three major things. If we can organize and centralize our power and our capital and everything else that we have together, we can collectively put together the collective security along with the self-reliance, not being able to rely, not having to rely on the government or anything that's oppressing us and not turning to them for anything. There's nothing they can do as far as economically castrating us. There's nothing they can do as far as blackballing us, this and that. We have the talent. We have so much power collectively if we just come together.
Yeah. Do you remember of course the boycotts? Do you think those would be effective more so than the marching and the protesting, or can we do all of these things at one time?
I don't think that the marching and protesting is really doing what it should have done, honestly, and it's I don't agree with it, honestly. I feel like that nonviolent approach to things is kind of played, and especially it's just common sense, okay? If a man is trying to fight me, obviously the time of diplomacy is over. Why are we marching in the streets and letting them hit us with these hoses and stick the dogs on us and beat us in those days? And nowadays, I even saw in my small locality in my town, the protest was contained. The police worked in conjunction with the organizers and blocked off the roads and the sections of the roads for us to march. That's a march, it's not a protest. The basic premise of a protest is civil disobedience en masse. Correct? Am I correct in that?
Yes, you're right, and it's been happening since the beginning of
In
time.
the urban areas, they're doing it the right way. And said, now I get some of the destruction of property and looting and stuff is in the wrong places. This and that. We're burning down the wrong buildings. This is in a war. There's just certain things you have to do. You have to fight the battle on the front lines, but you also have to economically castrate your opponent. Same way. All right, you're right. The boycotting will always be an effective measure. If you take money out of people's pockets, a hungry man is an angry man. They'll start to listen. That was the most effective thing that MLK did. He used the intelligence of economic castration. Hey, stop spending our dollars with these people and cripple them to where they have to meet our demands.
Yeah.
That is one of the most effective things to do. However, trendy things makes it hard for the youth to take their dollars elsewhere. We love Chick-fil-A and Jordans too much.
You're right.
Right. And I get it. They're wonderful things, you know what I mean? But at the same token, your freedom is so much more wonderful. And there's a mom and pop soul food shop, right? There's a mom and pop soul food shop that can use that money even more and probably make better food. Take your dollars and spend them with us. Deal with us. And that's I don't know, man. It's so much more that we could do. It's just a matter of, okay, let's lay out the plan for what we're gonna do. Think about, like I said, MLK. The best thing he did, he galvanized the people, and there was a singular leader. There were other prominent preachers in that area, but they were all basically answering to Dr. King, and he delegated to those people, and that's how it organized so quickly.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, the genius of this before black television, before radio that he had, this and that, before the internet. This is basically church congregations and word of mouth. It's extraordinary how the black community completely came together and shut down an entire bus system and all this. This is before any kind of
Before
technology.
any kind of internet,
We have
social.
all the tools and we're more divided. How are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can literally sit on your phone and have the answer to every question known to man, basically. And I feel like we're dumber than we were then.
I agree.
Pardon my language, I'm sorry. It's just like, it makes no sense. You look at the youth, scroll down your social media. When people post, how much terrible grammar and punctuation and misspelled words are used? You've been speaking this language for 30-something years, and most people are grown, at least 15, 16 years. Master this first. And this is everybody. It's not just a black and white thing. I mean, this ain't, you scroll down, everybody. But the same people, especially you see these conservative white people, go back to your country, talk American. For one, American's not a language. English is what we speak. And you can't even read and write it, and you're mad because a person who speaks another language fluently speaks a broken version of the second language? Anyone who comes to this country and tries to speak English is naturally smarter than them because they're at least trying to speak two languages.
Right.
They barely speak one. I'm talking about this is America speaking. Sit down. That's horrible. Like, I don't get it. I'm sorry I'm rambling. But it's so much things that
Well, that's
needs to be
okay,
said.
because what this is the state of the black man's mind. And like I said, we don't talk about it enough. We haven't allowed, I don't think, the voice of the black man to be heard, because as you talked about, there's rage, there's anger. I mean, we're watching our brothers die in the street, being shot in their back, being lynched. And then we got coronavirus on top of that. Now we talk about mental health awareness. We correlated more to women. But with all of the trauma that's going on, how do you keep yourself centered? How do you practice self-care?
Lately it's been a lot of herb and a lot of meditation. Honestly,
It's the healing of the nation, baby. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's not hold a meds, man. Sometimes you can just shake your head and just let it slip and butter slip to it, man. I don't know, man. It's I've turned I wish I could turn to music in this time, but me, I'm a person where I write reality music, so I can only write music about what I'm going through, and everybody's writing about this stuff. No one wants to hear this anymore. And I'm like, it's beating a dead horse because I've already made my first album was very dark and sad music. This next album, my latest album has been more energy to it, but still very forceful music as far as political things that we're attacking and this and that. I'm tired, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm being completely real. I'm tired. I've been on this when it's the unpopular opinion, when I'm the woke guy that nobody wants to hear about. Here, this woke guy again talking this crazy stuff. I've been that guy.
And isn't it crazy how when you speak about history, knowledge, facts about our people, what we are able to accomplish, and things that have happened to us, you're militant, you're crazy. Oh my goodness, we don't want to talk about that today. Are you on one today?
Why are you so negative? I get that all the time. You're so negative. You're aggressive. I didn't touch you, ma'am, or whoever is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't touch you. What the forcefulness of the truth that I'm speaking is what's making you uncomfortable. It's making you uprooted. And I'm not trying to generalize the stereotype, but most of us who are not educated, who are black in America or anywhere else, we need to stop our you think about this now, correct me if I'm wrong. Go and say something to a black person from an urban area that they do not understand, or word or anything else they may be confused about. Their natural response is to get defensive and get combative.
Of course. And I think I'm better than. Who do I think I am? I'm trying to talk a different way.
You think you're better than somebody? You trying to talk down to me? I'm trying to teach you, brother. Is what I'm trying to do. We have too much pride to be taught, but you didn't have too much pride not to be dumb enough. Learn. If you have pride, put your pride into learning knowledge. No one knows it all. I try to learn something new every day.
Yeah. And that's why I get into that manhood versus masculinity. When the brothers are sitting around reasoning and, you're really trying to tell your brother some truth, and that very scenario pops up, and then next thing you know, you fighting. You want to kill me over some words, but you wouldn't go and push that man off of George.
Right. You don't want this felony for saving your man's life, but you'll take a felony and do life for killing a man who looks like you. I just don't get, like I said, our natural response. And this is not, like I said, this is not me. Please, I love my black brothers and sisters. I always sound like the person that hates his own and this and that. We have to do better. We are over here playing a game instituted. The game is made by someone, by the other side. We cannot change the rules of the game until we start taking ownership of things and taking ownership of offices and things of influence and things like that. Policy will not change until we are the ones changing it, and you have to be qualified to do it.
Yes, I agree.
But we don't want to do the work to be, the small things like, what? If most of us were proficient in reading and writing and basic economic literacy, how much better we would be collectively as a family unit, as someone who come together. Our whole concept of collective security would be even better. Being able to know how to speak to people. You can't take hood reasoning business practices and take that to the business world. You can take the ambition, you can take the hustle, you can take the work ethic, you can take the discipline. Yes, the core values, take them all day. Speak the language when you go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to continue to be misunderstood.
I hear you.
This is not, and this is not anything I'm making up. This is what I've had the good fortune to go to a small Southern white Baptist university that had Southern white Baptist teachers and professors, and I'm a sponge because I'm seeing how these people are operating in the world, and these are the people who are holding offices and places of influence. Isn't it? I learned this game from them and put my spin on it. And I'm able to have. I live an hour north of the capital of the Confederacy of the Confederate States of America, Richmond, Virginia. In this whole area, I live in the background of where the Civil War was fought, and I'm somehow able to book a reggae band that puts music against all of those regimes and play in all these venues in these areas for a reason, because I know how to speak to the people who write the checks, and my own people who look like me don't support me. But I'm the spokesperson for all of them. Now when I accomplish a milestone, now I got new cousins, now I got new friends now a long time. I see you doing your thing. No, you don't see me doing my thing. You could have helped me doing my thing, and I could be doing a lot more a long time ago if you just come in and support this because I'm speaking to you.
That's a whole nother story, because I'm telling you, I woke up with that on my mind, and I'm like, I don't even want that to come over my spirit right now,
I'm
because
trying, and I try not to speak on it.
I
It just comes out.
know. I know how it is. Because, brother, I came and saw you, as a matter of fact, out in Virginia at Jam and Java.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when I walked in with my African print pants on, and I was looking like, am I supposed to be here? But then when you came on the set, you and your band, it was when I tell you, phenomenal experience. It was an awesome experience. You said this album coming out may be a little dark, but I feel like I hear that it may be very inspirational. Talk to us just a little bit about your music, about Adwela and the Uprising, and when we come out of this thing, because y'all was supposed to be touring right now, and then
I don't even look at my schedule anymore. It's depressing. what I'm missing, man. Oh gosh, I could have been so many good places, but I've been thankful. Honestly, I needed to reset. I've been going almost 6 years as hard as I can. I was home when COVID first hit and everything shut down, and I was home from a Friday to a Sunday, and my daughter wakes up in the house and said, "What are you doing here?"
That was a change for the whole family.
I had been home for a whole weekend in 6 years.
Wow.
Because I've been out on the mission, and like that's to make my daughter's world that she grows up in a better place. But I'm missing. I'm there most of the week, and I'm an active, father. And it's not like I'm not in my daughter's life. I see it just about every day. But when I'm home, but small things like Saturday morning cereal and cartoons or whatever, and just spending the day or whatever activity she's got going on, I'm generally not there because I'm on the road.
Gotcha.
So like this reset is like kind of what I needed. But I think when we come back, I hope anyway. I hope this business will come back with a vengeance, and I hope these people who have been on the fence about coming out and supporting the arts and the music and the makers of music and the players of instruments. I think that should be better. I think us being cooped up in quarantine for a while and cut off from the social recreational activities that we took for granted and don't enjoy and can't enjoy the same way. When it comes back, I hope it'll come back with a boom. I think with this awareness in the Black community, I think we should and will turn to more conscious music.
Mm-hmm.
It's talking about things. And I like the way the young community is calling out artists who have made their money off of the trap and this and that what we're supporting. But you're talking about reality music, you keep it real, man. We always talk about hip hop artists. You notice they're all judged about how real they are and how they keep it real. When there's real things going on in the community, where are the songs about this?
We don't hear them.
Because you can't make them because the label either not let it come out or you don't know how to write them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why Marvin Gaye, James Brown, they struggled so hard, especially during that time, the 70s. And when Marvin Gaye put out that whole album back then about what's going on, what's happening,
Right.
the world was on its ear. So
But you know what?
I
Those guys,
hope, I hope that from our both of our lips to God's ears to Jaja's ears that it happens.
even like Earth, Wind, and Fire, like the Gap Band and people like that, they were so poetic with how they hid those things, but they were super woke and super Afrocentric, but they had to hide it, and they had to hide it deep in the song, or the major labels would not mass produce it and put it out. They were such
Listen,
great songwriters.
listen.
My God.
I took another listen to the Gap Band's "You Dropped the
Yeah.
Bomb on Me."
Uncle Charlie was dropping gems on us, and we didn't even know. We partying to it.
I ain't gonna even say nothing else. I need everybody to go listen to that song because when
Right.
we talking about Tulsa, when we talking about 1921, we talking about
They
June.
from Oklahoma too. They felt that. They know
That's
that.
one of the songs that we need to be listening to every day.
They from Oklahoma. They know that story well. They told that like I know grandparents have probably told that down. That's crazy.
Now you talked a little bit about it, and I know you don't really want to go all the way into it, but how do we get unity in the community?
I think we're in the right direction and where there's a common goal and there's a common something that there's a disdain for. And right now it is systematic racism and oppression and police brutality. If that's the thing we can hang our hat on to come together, great. But now when we come together, we need to take that time and make the most out of it and get the speakers and the people who have something to say and the people with some education. We need the Dr. Cornel West and of the world to come out who can speak and speak eloquently and truthfully to these people. We need the next generation of the Dick Gregory's of the world, the people who can speak our language. You can say it in the hood vernacular. You might cuss at them a little bit to get their attention, but you're dropping gems on them in very basic layman's terms so we understand what's going on and what needs to be done.
Yeah.
I just really think the first thing is, like I said, with the foundation there, we have something to hang our hat on. We really need some leadership and organization and a hierarchy of things to go to. And the church that's where the church had its strength. Mm-hmm. But I think it needs to be something else because more of us are turning away from the church these days. For obvious reasons. For obvious reasons.
Yep. It's the truth.
For obvious reasons. And I'm not saying don't be Christian, but Christianity is not taught to us correctly in our churches.
Yeah.
I had a great uncle that passed about 5 years ago. And I remember walking out of his funeral fuming mad. My great uncle, a great praying man, was born a sharecropper just like my grandfather was, and that lived a good full life, worked hard, passed in his 80s, this and that, was a deacon in the church, came up, this and that. The pastor that delivered his eulogy, it was so biblically and historically inaccurate, the things he was talking about. And I'm looking around, I'm seeing him paying respect to this man, they're jumping up and down, everybody in the church going crazy, amen, amen, amen. And I'm looking at these people just eating up everything this man says, and he don't have a clue what he's talking about. And this is a start. These are the guys who are preaching every Sunday to hundreds, if not more of us. And it's a big miseducation. And they're eating everything out of their hand because they have a robe on. The education of the clergy needs to be better. The way these things need to be presented need to be better. And we need to hold these guys accountable as well, as far as the academic standard and a teaching standard. Being a pastor is also, as a counselor, is an educator and an orator. And a community organizer and a pillar in the community, and that's a tough job, almost as tough as the police. But these are the things you're undertaking when you take that vow and you accept the position.
And you have to, almost kind of understand or overstand, and still correct in love because the pastor was hope. The pastor said we're going to overcome.
And like I said, I'm not chastising what they're doing because all we had was hope, and that's what's got us this far. Yeah. Accurate, inaccurate, this and all. It was presented with the zest and enough zeal in the pulpit to give people hope. Yeah. And that's the biggest and only thing that's all that comes about. Right. But that comes from within. That's the God in us and the spirituality of us as Africans that came out and helped us give us hope.
Adwela, how can the Black woman support the Black man?
Love us, baby. What you mean? You gotta love us first. And we gotta love you too. It's very simple. We gotta learn to love each other again. It's such disdain all the time. Like honestly, and I come from a like I said, a country town. Just by the way I speak and the way I look. Most Black women where I come from don't identify with me. Not even attracted to me. Did not even think that was something that was attainable for me until I left my hometown
Wow.
and went out to the world. That's a real thing. You seen the memes? You ever seen the memes to where they like the thug guy, they don't like the corny black man?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the corny black man because I can read and I can write and I don't have any felonies and I have one child by one woman and I take care of that child and I'm in their life and I do the proverbial right thing and I have decent non-regional diction and I'm eloquent and I can speak and I'm self-sufficient. I'm a self-made man. I run my own businesses on top of being a musician. I do these things, other things, but I don't personify these things that are popular in the community. Therefore, I'm looked at as a lame or corny or he's too woke because I guess my realm of understanding goes over their head and they don't understand it. I don't know what it is, and I ain't looking for it. But I can't change who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am. I can't put on any other face. But I do understand how that other thing that's being glorified is detrimental to the black community. But it's also mass produced and mass presented. And same with our women, like too many scantily clad. The female rap game, gosh, if Cardi B used her platform and changed her content, look how many women she would empower. I think even Beyonce doing too much. But look how she positively affects the 29 to 40 something crowd. Those women are grown black women, and those are the professionals. And those she's those women her fan base is more socially acceptable, if you will. They have the things together. She empowers them people. This thought culture and all this stuff got to go. We have kids. I have a daughter. She's not even allowed to play that in my house. It's an automatic, like it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a disciplinary problem. If I hear any, like, because they don't understand music, it's fun. You're not doing anything else. Now, honestly, I'm not saying I don't listen to hip hop. I'm not saying I don't listen to gangster rap. We grew up on all that stuff going on. I grew up on all of it. I'll be the first one to tell you. I'm one of the biggest No Limit Records fans in the world, but I love P for his hustle and his business sense. And to be an empowered, self-made black man, that's what brought me to him. He's not nowhere near anywhere close to the best lyricist there is. But the man runs his own business and he's self-sufficient and put everyone he loved in this whole conglomerate on, and they're straight too.
Yeah.
That's a hood man with basically just a hood education, understanding collective security and empowerment and business and putting himself on. But the content, especially now, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about major labels and this and that. And all you can do is go. If you have the views, you have the money. People will pick you up because you're already doing well by yourself. Change your content. You don't got to rap about the trap and the guns no more, man. So I just flexed the other day. I got a million guns. Trust me. Person break into my house, gonna have a long day. Trust me. Cop pulled me over. He tried some messed up stuff. I may go to jail, but he ain't gonna kill me. Trust me. But I'm not embodying these things. I shoot all the time. I love guns. I love firearms. I'm a big gun enthusiast. I'm a big self-protection and self-defense enthusiast. However, I'm not a violent man.
Do you think every black man or every black family should have a gun?
Yes. In these times, of course, why not? You'd be a fool not to. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we should be taught. We should have our permits for. We should have our concealed permits. We should learn how to maintenance our firearms. We should know how to, from a tactical standpoint, not from a hood standpoint, know how to use these firearms to the best of their capabilities. You see these white nationalists, this and that. They come out and look like militias. Tactical gear for days, and they got money out there to put it on. Walk around with M4s, tricked out with all kinds of this and that. We ain't got none of that. And you got $100 throwaway in your pocket. 38. What's gonna happen if you really go down? Train yourself in these ways. This is war. We can't avoid war. It's a world thing that's been going on since the beginning of time. We have a saying all the time. What I'd rather be? I'd rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war.
Wow.
I'm not gonna start it, but if I must defend myself, trust me, I'm coming out.
Yeah.
And think about this: if the Panthers were formed, the Crips and Bloods were really performed as a community outreach and protectors, and it evolved into that gang culture. We know this if we know the history of it all. But once again, see what happens. What do? They do the same thing that they do in war to stop the Iraq war. They kill Saddam Hussein. You want to kill the snake, cut off the head. And they kill our leaders, or they lock them up. The people disband. The cops run in, rough up a couple people, little bit of violence. You know what I mean? That's not condoned and illegal. Maybe get a settlement, this and that. Kill a couple of them. What happens? We get scared. We disband and start doing our own thing.
Do you think voting matters?
Now this is the government teacher and me saying this on a federal level. No, Absolutely not. On a city level, in a state level, and a local level, yes, 1,000% it does. You can change policy with your vote in your community, yes. On a federal level, but hear me out with this. The framers of our Constitution were sons of noblemen and landowners and people who were of note. The majority of the immigrants who came over here to start this country were literal landowners, correct?
Yes.
So why would you entrust the way a brand new country runs to people who can't read and write? Obviously, their vote don't count. You would be a fool to do that. But what do? Delegation by ownership. We'll give you a vote that gives you the illusion of what should go on. And you know what? We'll see. That's why the electoral college is the greatest thing in this country. And that's why our democracy and our Constitution works so much, because it can evolve. We don't amend things as we should in the time we should. We can change things. If we outgrow laws and things like that, nothing in the Constitution says we can't change it. We don't want to change it because the right people who are in charge are making all the money.
As in today, they are fighting
Right.
to keep DC from being a state.
A state. I just saw it today.
You know, yeah, they did vote it in, but it still has to go to the Senate, and we already know how that's going to go.
Right. So, like, you see these things to where on a local level, yes, you can change policy. On a state level, the electoral college is going to look at what the majority does, but then they're going to make the best decision based on, but look at the last election. I don't think it was the best. I don't think either candidate was great, but we know Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Donald Trump is the president because the electoral college says so. Period.
Unbelievable.
I don't know, man. It's voting does matter, but let me ask you this, a real question. What has us going to the polls actually changed?
Nothing. But I think it's also because we don't hold those that we put in office accountable.
Right. We're just happy having black people in certain places. Now, mind you see, like I said, on a local level, prime example, Marion Barry. Great man, DC. Had his stuff with him. He had his personal stuff with him. He certainly did. He was an old hood black dude, but you know what? He had that city thriving. The hoods loved him. The people loved him. He did what he could monetarily for his people. Everybody had jobs, after school programs where they were, and the city was great. Chocolate City was at its height. Then it was the best time for black people in the DMV, period.
Yep. He was truly for the people. You would have to really go back to the 70s to find out, like, the crux of who Marion Barry was. You know, his later in life troubles did not have defined his legacy at all.
Right. At all. That man has dedicated his entire life to being a public servant for the District of Columbia. You can't say that. Man for life for a reason. I actually ran into him. I was in College Park actually with a friend of mine, and literally bumped into him walking out of a bar. Right. And he wanted, hey, Mayor for life. He was like, hey boys, how you doing? It was just cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was cool. So I was like, all right, this guy is a down to earth good man. You know what I mean? So, like, God rest his soul. But
yeah, may his soul.
But I don't know.
May his soul rest in peace. Adwela, I started this in March when we first, got hit by the corona. Do you think it's too early to go out?
Go out where?
Go outside. Because corona out there.
I've been doing some little small things, some small acoustic work, and I've been to a couple of protests, this and that. I have my theories on this, and obviously, if you look at the data and what's really going on, obviously, there's something a little stronger than the flu. But until like recently, the flu was comparable. I think we've mismanaged it grossly just because of the administration and how they deal with certain things. I don't think it's as serious as people are making it out to be. I think people who are obviously autoimmune compromised and are older, they need to stay away from this stuff and be mindful. But here's the thing: why, as people, as grown people, how could there be any more hygienic measures to be taken? We were really that dirty before, honestly. You're gonna tell me don't touch people you don't know and don't cough on people and wash your hands, you'd be fine? We weren't doing that already? I mean, I'm just saying, like, is this something? Don't contactless delivery? You mean to tell me y'all were touching my food before you gave it to me before this?
That is one of my questions all the time. Like, was y'all touching my food?
What are y'all changing? What do you mean contactless delivery? Y'all were touching my food before? Like, what was going on? We were really just careless with these things? I don't know. I think, especially for black people, we're more, I'm not going to say more, we're meticulous with our cleanliness. Most of us are. It's on a different level of clean. So, like, certain things, like washing my hands, we're funny about touching people we don't know and everything else, too. It's just different. Right. So, to me, I'm like, with the measures, me as a musician, some outdoor things in the summer which are already going on, you have more space, you're out in the open airs, I think it's safe. And I know people who are sick. If you're sick, you should be, have enough sense to stay at home. I just recently met, I've got two friends across the country that are actually respiratory therapists. One actually works in the COVID unit in San Antonio, Texas. She's actually seen these people. Now, there are some people on ventilators, people in ICU, this and that. They're all older. They're all people who have pre-existing conditions. Now, I'm not a medical expert, this and that, but predominantly that's who the thing's affecting. I met a couple of younger people who had it, and they were sick for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, quarantine for 14 days. They're back to work. And they're rolling. They're fine. That might be different things are different people, but this is the reality and the fact about this is not as lethal as people think it is, but we should have locked down and just taken the precautions to get rid of it beforehand. And we wouldn't have been as bad as we are.
Okay, not as lethal. Almost 1 million people are dead.
I agree. But look at this. How many people did the flu kill last year?
I don't know, but not nearly as many. Close
to it, though.
I'm going to look that up.
Seriously.
I am. I'm going to look it up because
I know, like I said, this is not me saying don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this is not something that's serious that we shouldn't, be mindful of in our day-to-days and this and that. I'm certainly mindful. I'm certainly mindful of my child and who she's around, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But with certain measures, we should be able to have a certain measure of regular life right about now.
Okay. Well, we're going to see because, they're opening up phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 all across the country.
I mean, it's wishful thinking for me because I got things I want to do and this and that.
See, that's it.
A small bit of selfishness in that. But
that's it right there.
That's the truth. Small bit, but I'm being optimistic.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that.
That's all.
I'll take that. Well, the reason for this coping with quarantine talk or many voices of the community was because of coronavirus. We had George Floyd, we had Rayshard Brooks, we have lynchings, we have this anger, this rage on both sides, but more importantly on the Black side. And I just wanted to take some time to talk to my brothers to find out, just really how you guys are doing. So I definitely appreciate that. Tell the people where they can find you, listen to your music, and get on the edge of our seat for your next album coming out.
Like I said, we just dropped our second album entitled Ascension in February. Please pick that up. You can find us on all digital platforms. Look us up on our website, www.adwela.com. Just the name of the band, ADWELA, and theuprising.com. We're on all major platforms. Please come check us out. Our schedule's on there. There's a semblance and a couple of shows and acoustic work we're doing. And as the summer goes on, there's some outdoor festivals with limited capacity that we're still going to play. So I'm going to get out 3 or 4, maybe 5 times this summer and go play still. But nowhere near as busy, but we're still in the lab. We're still here. We're still not going anywhere. And when we come back, we'll come back with a vengeance. Waiting to put some truth, and hopefully, like I said, we can galvanize these people and put some soundtrack behind this revolution that's happening right about now. So I'll get back in the lab soon. I just got to recharge and see what's going on and really digest the happenings right now. But
well, I'm excited and I can't wait. I'll definitely put all the information up on my platform. And for your followers, my name is Momo Love. I host a weekly radio talk show called Community Voices with Momo Love alongside DJ Firebone 592 Sound. It is aired every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Ablazing Radio. You can listen via the app, Ablazing Radio Live, or listen on the web, www.ablazingradio.com. As a matter of fact, it's 24/7 reggae, dancehall, soca, Afrobeat, so much more. You will thoroughly enjoy yourself. And Adwela, I have seen many times perform. He is phenomenal. I have so many videos. I might even post those up so you guys can get a peek at that. And again, brother, thank you. Be safe out there. I appreciate you. I love you. And I can't wait to see you soon.
I love you too, sweetheart. I'll talk to you soon, all right? Bless up.
Blessings.